How you doing? Trevor Walker here. I'm the football coach at Carver Votech in Baltimore City, here in Baltimore, Maryland. Um, I have chosen dedicated as my quality of character that I will be presenting today for my MCAA 530 Ethics in Sports. The Webster Dictionary for dedication is of a person devoted to a task or purpose, having a single minded loyalty or integrity, given over to a particular purpose. And so when I started to think about that, I wanted to think about dedication in relation to sports. And doing some research, I found this beautiful quote that I think fits perfect. For any serious athlete or coach, sport is more than just a hobby. It's more than something they do to get fresh air, to exercise, and to meet people. Anyone looking to perform to the best of their ability needs to be dedicated to their sport. Without such dedication and the determination to constantly improve your performance, all of the other mental factors, confidence, intensity, focus, and emotions are meaningless. So, as I move forward, I want to talk about three key points: the importance of a coach's love in creating a dedicated culture, character traits of the dedicated athlete and coach, and the effects of non dedication. Now, before we move forward, I think it's important that we talk about the importance of a coach and the impact that we make. A coach will impact more people in 1 year, more young people in 1 year than the average person does in a lifetime. And as you sit there and you let that sink in, that means in 1 year, I, compared to somebody who is not a coach, will have the ability to impact more people than they do than their entire life. So that seems like a very large task. And that seems like a lot to bear, and sometimes can see or even be overwhelming. But you know, as you are that person and you've been chosen, and this is your purpose and your calling to move forward, it's something that we truly must dedicate ourselves to. And I think the first step to dedicating ourselves to this important role, to being these disciples for the Lord, is to show love. So I want to play this clip of Ed Reed of a discussion of John Harbaugh speaking on his relationship with Ed Reed as it relates to love.
See it. Now I see it, Coach. Now I see it. Now I understand. And we both knew what he meant. And there were times that we didn't talk to each other for weeks. I would make a point. I didn't talk to him because I didn't really appreciate the way he was treating me. And he wasn't being respectful of the program. And we'd walk by each other and not say hello. But I knew it bothered him. And I knew it. But before that happened, I told him. I said something along the lines of, I know you may not like me, and you may not be doing we may not be doing things the way you think they should be done, but that's not going to change the way I feel about you, man. I love you. And then just walk on. Now, I don't need to say hi to him for 3 weeks if he's going to be in a bad mood. But every player on your team should feel like you like them, and even more than that, that you love them. That you love them. If they're on your team, you're their dad. All right? They deserve your love. And if you can't like them or love them, then either you shouldn't be the coach or they shouldn't be on your team. All right? Every player should know that you love them and you care about them. Even when they act crazy. And even when you discipline them. Even when you tell them it's not okay. Listen, it's not okay. You're going to be over there on the end of the bench by yourself. But I still love you. I still love you.
And so as I sit there and I listen to that quote, man, and I think about it, we've all been in those situations where our kids will disappoint us as their kids. Sometimes they make bad choices. Even as coaches, we make bad choices, and sometimes we disappoint our own athletes. But it's important that as long as love is in place, as long as they know that we love them, they have the ability to come back from that. And I think that is important because a lot of our athletes, especially the ones I deal with, they come looking for love. They might have that tough skin. They might be, coming, and they might be that big tough guy. But deep down inside, they really just want a hug because a lot of them have that male figure that's been absent. A lot of them have that woman figure that's been absent. So as long as they know that we love them, they will continue to do and strive to please us. And by pleasing us, they follow the rules, they do what's best, and they become dedicated athletes. And so as we enter the field for our kids, we always carry a hammer, which represents the work. So we carry a nice wooden hammer, has a big end to it, represents the work that you put in throughout the week to get to this point. And then we carry a flag. The flag has our school logo on it, and it also has Colossians 3:23. And it states that whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord and not not for men. That means that we are blessed with an opportunity to go out there and play the game that we love to play. And because we have that opportunity to do it, we're going to glorify the Lord, and we're going to work at it with all our heart. We're going to dedicate all of our time, all of our effort into exuding and putting forth and showing God that we appreciate the blessing that he's bestowed upon us. And so that's why it's important that we carry that flag on that field with Colossians 3:23, and it's a scripture that's been dear to my heart. And Brown states, every coach who follows his heart, adheres to his convictions, helps install positive values and a sense of self-worth in young people is a difference maker. So coach, you are a difference maker, and that's what we're here to do. And so by your dedication, that's going to determine how much of a difference you actually make. So as we said before, as I stated earlier, that a coach has the ability to impact more people in 1 year than the average person. So we don't want to allow our students to enter our spiritual graveyard, meaning those athletes in which we weren't able to touch, those athletes that we disregarded, those athletes that we didn't feel like we wanted to take that extra step because they needed that. And so what I mean by spiritual graveyard, how many of those kids did we not take the time to positively impact that are now doing something that they shouldn't be, turning down the different road that we don't want them to? All right, so as we talk about the character traits of the dedicated athlete and coach, 4 come to mind: hardworking, dependable, trustworthy, and loyal. When we talk about the hardworking athlete, we're talking about somebody that's willing to give 110% all times. They don't complain about work. They strive to be excellent in the classroom. They strive to be excellent on the field as well. And now as a coach, you also have to be willing to give 110% effort. We must be willing to put in the long hours. As we know, coaching is not a 3:30 to 6:30 gig. Sometimes you're there till 9:30, sometimes 10 o'clock. I know for me, sometimes it includes giving rides home to student athletes. Sometimes it goes into providing those meals. A lot of our student athletes are required to take public transportation, so they have to take 2 and 3 buses just to get home. So while practice might end at 6, they're still not getting home till 8 o'clock because they're taking that bus. So it's part of my duty and my dedication to that athlete to let me go ahead and see if I can get you home today. Okay? Muhammad Ali stated, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of life as a champion. And so when you talk about hard work as an athlete, we're talking about that training portion. When you fall in love, and I express this to my athletes all the time, when you can fall in love with the grind, that's when it becomes easy. When you start to love the grind more than you love the game, that's when you have the opportunity to improve and become a champion. All right. Another trait, dependable. All right. As an athlete, can you be counted on to do what is right? Can you be counted on to attend class and achieve the good grades? Can you be counted on to give your all and be the best teammate you can be? And by being the best teammate you can be, that means that you're accountable for your own actions. So when you become accountable for yourself, we can depend on you. Why? Because you can realize your own mistakes and you can work to correct your own mistakes. So now we don't have to take away time to correct you because you're able to correct yourself. Same thing as a coach. Now for a coach, when you talk about dependable, can you remain calm in the heat of the moment? And now this can vary. This can be in the heat of a close game. This could be a situation within the school building, dealing with your athlete and a teacher, dealing with your athlete and another student. Can you remain calm in a moment and find a way to bring forth that peace, to make that right call, to make that right decision? I always tell my coaches, if we aren't learning, how can we expect our athletes to? So what that means is if we're not studying the game, can you be dependable upon to study your craft? Can you be dependable upon to learn the new techniques necessary in order to provide your athletes with the most up-to-date training and things? So, it's important that we are dependable. Those coaches, those students, athletes are depending on the coaches for instruction. So if we're not learning that instruction, how can we give it? All right. And then in time of need, can you be there for them or desert them like others have done so already in their lives? As we know, sports is a great avenue for those students that feel alone, for those students that want to feel a part of something. And so there's going to be times where they're going to call late at night. There's going to be times where they're going to need you on a weekend, on a most hour. Can you be dependable? Can you be there for them? Because that's what they're looking for. Vince Lombardi said the price of success is hard work, dedication to the job at hand, and the determination that whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. And so, what I see from this quote here from Vince is he's talking about the process. And sometimes we forget the process when we continuously just focus on the end goal. So, meaning that we could be at practice right now. Instead of focus on executing this play in this moment, we are thinking about executing the play on Friday night. And because we're thinking about executing that play on Friday night, we might make a minor mistake here. And the response will be, oh, well, I'm going to get it right on Friday because I see it happening that way. Well, how is it happening right now? And how can you respond right now? Because how it's happening right now may very well be exactly what you face in game day on Friday. All right, trustworthy. As an athlete, are you always willing to do what is right when no one is looking? And that's what we talk about with integrity. Can you be trusted to attend class? Can you be trusted to follow the team rules? All right, as a coach, your integrity. Can you make those tough calls? When you talk about benching, when you talk about team dismissals, can you make that call to bench an athlete because they did wrong? And choose just because he's your best athlete to let him continue to play. All right, trustworthy. Can you be trusted to show up on time? And the big thing for me is, can you be trusted to be prepared? Because when your athletes see that you're not prepared, there's no trust there. They don't believe in your mission. They don't believe in your vision. So it's important that can you be prepared as a coach? Loyalty, okay? For an athlete, give yourself the opportunity to grow with grow with your coach. Your willingness to endure and work for the playing time you feel you deserve. All right, so this is important because in the area that I am, kids have school choice, meaning that there is no zoning rules here. So you'll find that kids will tend to have 3 and 4 different high schools on their transcript because they're just looking for that next opportunity. They're not going to stay and be dedicated to the grind. They're not going to be dedicated to the mission and vision of the coach. They're not going to work. They're just looking for that instant gratification. All right, so it's important that loyalty is a part of you. All right, in order for you to be a dedicated athlete. And now when we talk about a coach, it goes into this realm. The job can't just be our next stepping stone. Okay, so we can't continuously envision where we're trying to get to. If you're a youth football coach, we can't continuously just think about our youth football team as the opportunity to get to the high school level. If you're a high school coach, you can't think about that going to college. When you're at college, you can't think about that going professional. It's important that you give 100% of yourself to the job right now and not be thinking about the future. While the future might be a thought of yours, it can't be at the forefront of your brain, because you start to think about and start to train and treat your players as though they're on the next level, and then they're not. And for that, you create this disconnect because you're trying to create something that they aren't there yet. Now, while you can mimic your program behind it, I always found myself now, after my first year, cautioning between trying to make it an exact program like the next level. We can mimic some things and do something, but we have to remember the level of kid that we're dealing with. And remember that we're here. These kids are giving their all to us. So we can't be thinking about the next step and worrying about what the next job opportunity is going to come to. And let me prepare my resume this year to go ahead and do that. It's always good to have that in your back pocket to make sure that it is up to date, but that can't be at your forefront, because then you lose sight of your mission. All right, you have to be loyal as a head coach to your staff. It's important to show them that you're loyal to them, and that you're willing to do whatever it is that you can to make them better coaches as well. And what I also find is very important is loyalty to your community. All right, while we may not have zoning rules, a lot of our athletes do come from our West Baltimore area. So it's important that we go out into community that these kids come from and do what we can to improve those communities, because that's where our kids live. That's where they reside. So we have a greater responsibility than just to the program, than just to winning football games. Our responsibility is to make a great impact in the community and make change. All right. And so now finally, I want to get into the last thing, the effects of non-dedication. All right. Having non-dedicated athletes, non-dedicated coaches, number one, you create a lack of trust. Okay, and so when you have a lack of trust, that creates a lack of the team working together. And then when you have the lack of a team working together, you typically have a lack of leadership. So those three things going together. So when you don't have dedicated athletes, you don't have dedicated coaches, you're not going to have trust. And if you don't have trust, your athletes aren't going to work together because they don't trust each other. And from that, you're not going to find those guys that are going to be leaders, okay? So clearly, if there's not dedication from your coaches, you don't have leadership. Not dedication from your players, you won't have leadership, all right? The effects of non-dedication also lead, you're just going to be unsuccessful. There's no way to have a successful program without dedicated individuals. If you're only going to give part-time effort, you're only going to get part-time results, okay? It leads to poor attendance, breakdown of continuity in play, and it can cause disruption amongst the team. So not having dedication can just lead, as I mentioned previously, to nothing but destruction of your program. And so with that, I'll leave you with the core, as I mentioned, with Dabo Swinney. When it's all said and done, and we talk about our dedication, and we have to answer to the Lord of what have we done with those athletes that he gave us. That is your thought. That is my thought. And so for that, I'm going to be dedicated to the mission. I'm going to be dedicated to my children. I'm going to be dedicated to my community, to my school staff, to ensure that I'm doing what I can to bring those children closer to the Lord and to bring the community closer to him as well. So I want to thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and stay blessed.